understood the meaning of habitat, ecosystem. The way the habitat is different from the ecosystem the way of organism has started inhabiting certain areas to the needs they have, and the way they acquire adaptation to different conditions from the surrounding to meet them. Hello children, today Shibajit is ready to take you to the world of the aquatic ecosystem. Shall we have a trip to the water? First, let's focus on some keywords. Keywords: flippers. A flipper is a broad, flattened limb adapted for aquatic locomotion. It refers to the fully webbed swimming appendages of aquatic vertebrates that are not fish. Deep diving mammals. Deep diving mammals do not rely on increased lung volume to increase oxygen stores. Buoyancy. Buoyancy is the tendency of an object to float in a fluid. Concept map. Learning objectives. By the end of this video, you would be able to understand the adaptations in the aquatic ecosystems like fresh water and marine water with various examples. You see various structural adaptations like special air spaces, flippers, floaters. You would be able to explain the process of swimming very clearly. You understand the meaning and the role of buoyancy. First, let's see what is an aquatic ecosystem. An aquatic ecosystem includes a group of interacting organisms that are dependent on one another and their water environment for nutrients and shelter. Examples of aquatic ecosystem include oceans, lakes and rivers. Adaptations in aquatic ecosystem. There are two different types of ecosystems in water. Or aquatic ecosystem. And some conditions in the environment influence adaptations. Aquatic ecosystems are mainly classified into two different types as freshwater ecosystem, example ponds, lakes and rivers. Marine ecosystems, example seas, oceans. As living organisms are different, we have come across various adaptations. Let's see some general aquatic adaptation. Structural adaptation. Number 1, presence of some special air spaces inside bodies. Number 2, presence of some structures that help organism to swim and float in water to inhabit different levels in water body. Number 3, some animals bear specialized structures to swim, such as flippers, seen in turtles, and fins in fish. Fishes and dolphins have floaters in their bodies to be able to inhabit particular level in the water body. What are floaters? Special structures of the digestive canals and also microscopic photosynthetic organism like phytoplankton have droplets of oil in their cells that keep them float. Larger plants have long broader leaves and flexible stems. Marine ecosystem over the last 2000 million years, plant and animal life on earth has continuously evolved from its simple beginnings in the ocean to its complex existence on land today. Although some animals emerged from the sea millions of years ago to fill all available spaces on land, some remained in the ocean and evolved and adapted to life beneath the surface. Each form of marine life has become adapted to a specific area with a relatively narrow variation in salinity, temperature, and light. The high salt content found in the ocean can support the large bodies of giant squids and whales. Allowing them to evolve without using strong limbs for support. Salt water exerts enormous pressure on the air spaces of marine animals. At depths, fluids like blood are practically incompressible. For every 10 meters, pressure increases by 1 atmosphere by nearly 10 to the power of 5 Newton per meter square. Do you know the secret of swimming? All these aquatic animals seem to share the same secret. Instead of fighting the pressure, they let it shrink their lungs completely. Some oxygen remains in their lungs, but they mostly store it in their muscles, where it is needed. Their muscle tissue contains much higher concentration of oxygen binding chemicals than our muscles. Shrunken lungs give deep diving mammals another big advantage. Actually, swimming is the fundamental characteristic feature of aquatic animals. Their bodies have certain adaptations to fight the pressure of the underwater current. All sorts of other organisms thrive at high pressure. Some of them are even air-breathing surface dwellers like us. Some seals can dive up to a mile, and some whales or mammals like us can go much deeper than that. You may feel that how could they do that, right? Yes. Instead of fighting the pressure, these animals let it shrink their lungs completely. Some oxygen remains in their lungs, but they mostly store it in their muscles, where it is needed. Their muscle tissue contains much higher concentration of oxygen binding chemicals than our muscles. Shrunk lungs give deep diving mammals another big advantage. Once a seal's lungs have shrunk, it becomes heavier than water, and so it sinks. Thus, it does not have to flap flippers all the way down, mostly by gliding effortlessly, saving its oxygen stores for the strenuous climb back to the surface. Fishes even have lungs like swim bladders to control their buoyancy. What is buoyancy? It is an ability to float in a medium. Example, whale and seal. Let me explain in detail. First, they move up in the water column by releasing gas into the bladder and inflating it, and down by reabsorbing gas into their blood. This fish can hang motionless a few feet above the seafloor. A swim bladder does not shrink at depth because the gas inside is at the same pressure as the water outside, which means if the external pressure suddenly decreases, the bladder will swell greatly. When such a fish is brought up from depth, its swim bladder sticks out of its mouth.